There is a mistake many men make without even realizing they're making it. They think attraction grows when they give more attention, more compliments, more messages, more availability, more effort. So when a woman seems interested, they immediately start giving her everything. And when she starts pulling away, they give even more. They text again. They explain themselves. They try harder to make her laugh. They become available at any hour. They start wondering what they did wrong. But sometimes, the harder you try to hold someone's attention, the faster you lose it. And that's where this gets uncomfortable. Because the problem isn't that you're too kind. The problem is that you've started giving away things that should have meaning before the other person has even had a chance to value them. Your time, your attention, your emotional energy, your approval, your presence. Think about it. If something is available every second of every day, how long does it feel special? A rare song feels different from background noise. A meaningful compliment feels different from something someone says to everybody. And someone's attention feels different when you know that person has a full life of his own. This isn't about playing games. It isn't about pretending you don't care. And it definitely isn't about treating women badly. It's about understanding one simple psychological principle. People tend to value what they genuinely invest in. When someone contributes time, curiosity, effort, emotion, or vulnerability to a connection, that connection starts becoming meaningful to them. But if you do all the work from the beginning, you leave them nothing to discover. And without discovery, there is very little emotional tension. The man who gives everything too soon. Picture two men. The first man meets a woman and immediately tries to impress her. He compliments everything: her eyes, her personality, her clothes, her smile. He replies instantly. He changes his schedule for her. He sends good morning messages every day. He constantly checks whether she's okay. He wants her to know that he's interested. The second man is interested too, but he doesn't abandon his life to prove it. He talks to her. He listens, he laughs, he flirts naturally, but then he goes back to whatever he was already doing: his work, his training, his friends, his hobbies, his goals, his responsibilities. He isn't trying to create artificial mystery. He simply has somewhere to be, and that's an important distinction. The first man is trying to convince her of his value. The second man is simply living according to his value. Those two things look completely different from the outside, and people can feel the difference. Kindness isn't the problem. Let's clear up something important. Being generous isn't unattractive. Being thoughtful isn't unattractive. Being romantic isn't unattractive. Being emotionally available isn't unattractive. The problem begins when those qualities become desperate attempts to receive something in return. You buy the gift because you hope she'll like you more. You send the message because you're afraid she'll forget you. You compliment her because you're waiting for validation. You cancel your plans because you're afraid saying no might make her lose interest. Now your kindness isn't coming from strength, it's coming from fear. And fear changes the energy behind everything you do. A genuinely confident man can say, "I'd love to see you," but he can also say, "Tonight doesn't work for me. Let's do another day." There is no anger, no punishment, no manipulation, no dramatic disappearance, just honesty. That's what boundaries look like. And boundaries aren't walls, they're instructions for how people can access your time and energy. Stop making yourself permanently available. One of the clearest signs of insecurity is the inability to tolerate a little distance. She sends a message. You answer immediately. She answers 5 minutes later. You answer immediately. She takes an hour. You stare at your phone. She doesn't reply. You start wondering whether she lost interest. Then you send another message, then another. And eventually, you're no longer communicating, you're managing your anxiety. That's a completely different thing. The phone isn't the problem. Your relationship with the phone is. If one unanswered message can completely change your mood, you've given someone far too much control over your emotional state. Your peace shouldn't depend on a notification. Your confidence shouldn't rise and fall with someone's response time. And your entire day shouldn't become a waiting room for another person. You have a life to live. Live it. Your purpose has to be bigger than her attention. This is where everything changes. A man becomes naturally more grounded when his life has direction, not because women become less important, but because women stop becoming the center of his identity. Your career matters. Your health matters. Your family matters. Your friendships matter. Your creativity matters. Your goals matter. When you have meaningful things happening in your own life, you're no longer desperately trying to manufacture excitement inside someone else's life. And ironically, that's often when people become more interested in you, because you're no longer asking them to complete your life. You're inviting them into a life that already exists. That's a completely different emotional experience.
Don't confuse scarcity with self-respect. Now, there's a very important difference here. You shouldn't intentionally disappear for 3 days because someone didn't text you. You shouldn't ignore messages to manipulate someone. You shouldn't pretend to be busy when you're actually sitting at home staring at your phone. That's not confidence. That's strategy. And strategy eventually becomes exhausting. Real confidence doesn't require acting. If you're busy, you're busy. If you want to respond, respond. If you don't want to go somewhere, say no. If you care about someone, show it. But don't betray yourself just to keep them interested. That's the line. What happens when she pulls away? This is where many men lose their composure. Everything was going well. Then suddenly her messages become shorter. She takes longer to respond. She seems distracted. Maybe she cancels a plan. Maybe she disappears for a day. And immediately your brain begins creating stories. Did I say something wrong? Is there another guy? Does she hate me? Should I text her? Should I apologize? Should I ask what's wrong? Maybe. But first, breathe. Don't turn uncertainty into an emergency. There's a difference between responding to reality and reacting to fear. Reaction says, how do I stop her from leaving? Response says, has anything actually happened that requires me to change my behavior? That question can save you from countless mistakes. Fear makes you chase. When someone feels they're losing another person's attention, they often become the worst version of themselves. They text too much, they explain too much, they apologize unnecessarily. They change opinions. They become overly agreeable. They abandon boundaries. They start trying to become whatever they think the other person wants. And ironically, that's often the moment they become less attractive. Because the other person isn't seeing love anymore. They're seeing dependence. There is nothing wrong with wanting someone, but you should never need someone to regulate your emotions. You can miss someone without chasing them. You can care without begging. You can love without abandoning yourself. That is emotional independence. The question you should ask yourself. Instead of asking, how do I make her want me? Ask, am I becoming someone I respect? That's a completely different question. The first puts your identity in someone else's hands. The second puts responsibility back where it belongs, on you. Are you keeping your promises? Are you taking care of your body? Are you improving your skills? Are you spending time with people that matter? Are you building something? Are you controlling your emotions instead of letting them control you? Because attraction is only one small part of life. Character lasts much longer. Your body is speaking before you do. Now, let's talk about something most men completely overlook: your body language. Before you say anything, your body has already introduced you. Look at a nervous man sitting alone in a cafe. His shoulders collapse inward, his hands keep moving, his eyes constantly search the room, his breathing is shallow. He's almost apologizing for taking up space. Now, compare that with someone comfortable in his own skin. His shoulders are relaxed, his breathing is natural. His hands aren't constantly searching for something to do. His eye contact is steady. His movements aren't rushed. He isn't trying to dominate the room. He's simply comfortable being there. That's real presence, and you can't fake it for long. Don't copy confidence, build it. The internet loves formulas. Stand like this, talk like that, hold eye contact for 3 seconds, lower your voice, move slowly, never text twice, never show emotion. Forget all of that. Those are behaviors. Confidence is the foundation underneath the behaviors. If you're terrified internally but forcing yourself to look powerful externally, eventually people will notice. Instead of asking, "How can I look confident?" ask, "Why am I so afraid of being judged?" That's the deeper question. Because once you solve the fear, your body doesn't need instructions. It naturally becomes calmer. Emotional regulation is powerful. Watch what happens to your breathing when you're nervous. It gets faster. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts accelerate. You become hyper-aware of every reaction. Now imagine someone who feels secure inside himself. His breathing stays steady. He doesn't panic because of a pause. He doesn't immediately react to criticism. He doesn't crumble because someone disagrees. That calmness affects everyone around him. People often become calmer around emotionally regulated people. Why? Because emotions are contagious. If you're constantly anxious, people feel that tension. If you're grounded, people often relax. That's influence without manipulation. Stop asking, "How do I look?" For a long time, many men ask themselves, "Do I look confident? Did I sound confident? Did she think I was attractive? Did I say the right thing?" But there's a better question. Why can't I simply relax and be myself? That question goes deeper. Because confidence isn't an outfit. It's not a facial expression. It's not a technique. It's the absence of constant internal negotiation. When your actions match your values, you stop needing to perform. You become congruent, and people can feel that. Forget the fake alpha persona. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to become aggressive. You don't need to treat women like enemies. You don't need to dominate every conversation. You don't need to pretend you don't care. The strongest man in the room may actually be the quietest. He doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't need everyone to agree with him. He doesn't need constant attention. He knows what he stands for. And because of that, rejection doesn't destroy him. Criticism doesn't destroy him. Silence doesn't destroy him. Someone leaving doesn't destroy him. He may feel pain. Of course he does. He's human. But pain doesn't become his identity. What people remember after you leave. Think about the people you've met in your own life. Do you remember every sentence they said? Probably not. Do you remember exactly what they wore? Sometimes. But what you remember most is usually how you felt around them. Did you feel relaxed, seen, inspired, judged, uncomfortable, safe? That's why emotional presence matters. People remember emotional atmosphere. They remember the feeling you left behind, and that feeling isn't created through rehearsed lines. It's created by the way you listen, the way you respond, the way you handle disagreement, the way you behave when things don't go your way. Your reaction to rejection reveals you. Anyone can look confident when everything is going perfectly, but what happens when you're rejected? That's the real test. Do you become bitter? Do you insult her? Do you beg? Do you send a long explanation? Do you suddenly become cruel? Or can you simply say, "I understand, I wish you well," and continue living? That's strength. Not because rejection doesn't hurt, but because you refuse to let pain destroy your character. Don't give someone the keys to your identity. Here's something I want you to really think about. If someone's approval determines how you feel about yourself, then they have become the owner of your emotional state. A delayed message can ruin your morning. A compliment can make your entire day. A rejection can make you question your worth. That's too much power to give another human being. Your identity belongs to you. Your peace belongs to you. Your standards belong to you. And your future belongs to you. Someone can become an important part of your life, but they should never become the entire foundation underneath it. Purpose changes attraction. When your life has direction, relationships become healthier. You don't need another person to save you. You don't need constant attention. You don't need someone to fill every empty hour. Instead, you have something you're moving towards. Maybe it's building a business. Maybe it's becoming physically stronger. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's creating art. Maybe it's becoming a better father. Maybe it's simply becoming a man you can respect when you look in the mirror. Purpose creates internal gravity, and when you have that gravity, you stop chasing every distraction. Become interesting instead of trying to be impressive. There's a huge difference between being impressive and being interesting. An impressive man may talk about what he owns. An interesting man asks questions that make you think. An impressive man tries to prove his success. An interesting man has experiences and perspectives.
The promises you make to yourself. Here's where real confidence begins. Not when someone compliments you. Not when someone finds you attractive. Not when your video gets thousands of views. Not when someone chooses you. Confidence grows when you repeatedly prove something to yourself. You say you're going to train. You train. You say you're going to wake up early. You wake up. You say you're going to finish the project. You finish it. You promise yourself you won't return to something that keeps hurting you. You walk away. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you create evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. And eventually, that trust changes you. The most important person watching your life is you. Nobody sees every decision you make. Nobody knows about the promises you break when you're alone. Nobody sees the excuses you make when nobody is watching. But you do. And that's why self-respect is so powerful. Every time you betray your own standards, you teach yourself that your word doesn't matter. Every time you keep your word, you teach yourself, I can trust myself. That is where quiet confidence comes from. Not motivational quotes, not pretending to be fearless, not acting superior. Trust. Self-trust. The man who chooses himself. Most men spend years waiting. Waiting for someone to choose them. Waiting for the message. Waiting for the relationship. Waiting for validation. Waiting for someone to tell them they're enough. But what happens when you stop waiting? You choose yourself. Not because you think you're better than everyone else. Because you finally accept responsibility for your own life. Your mission matters. Your health matters. Your peace matters. Your future matters.
and your attention is limited. Every minute you spend obsessing over someone's behavior is a minute you cannot spend building your own life. Attention is not free. Attention is your life. The strongest man isn't the one who controls other people. Real strength has nothing to do with controlling another person's behavior. You can't force someone to love you. You can't force someone to stay. You can't force someone to respect you, and you shouldn't want to. The real challenge is controlling yourself. Your reactions, your impulses, your words, your anger, your anxiety, your habits, your attention. That's where real power begins. Because when someone else's behavior no longer controls your emotional state, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate. What happens when you stop chasing? You begin noticing things you couldn't see before. You notice who actually reaches out, who makes an effort, who respects your boundaries, who only appears when they need something, who appreciates you, who takes you for granted, and you stop convincing people. You simply observe. That is freedom. You don't have to chase answers. Behavior eventually reveals the truth. Your standards are your silent introduction. You don't have to announce your standards. You demonstrate them. The way you handle disrespect. The way you protect your schedule. The way you speak about people who aren't present. The way you treat service workers. The way you behave when plans change. The way you respond when someone disagrees with you. Those moments reveal your character. Anyone can act impressive for an hour. Character appears in ordinary moments. That's why genuine presence can't be manufactured. It has to be built. Become the man you needed when you were younger. Maybe there was a version of you years ago who desperately wanted approval. Maybe you thought being liked meant being useful to everyone. Maybe you believed saying yes made you a better person. Maybe you were terrified of being abandoned. Maybe you believed love had to be earned by sacrificing yourself. But you don't have to live that way forever. You can change. Not overnight. Not through one motivational video. Through small decisions. One boundary. One promise. One workout. One difficult conversation. One moment where you choose your values over your fear. And eventually, those moments become your identity. The real secret. So what is the secret? It's not making her chase you. It's not ignoring her. It's not pretending to be mysterious. It's not becoming emotionally unavailable. It's not learning some magical sentence. The deeper answer is much simpler. Stop building your identity around being chosen. Become someone who chooses his own direction. Become someone who can love without losing himself. Become someone who can care without becoming dependent. Become someone who can handle rejection without becoming bitter. Become someone who can enjoy attention without needing it. Become someone whose life remains meaningful whether someone stays or leaves. That's the difference between confidence and performance. The moment everything changes. there will come a moment when you notice something strange. Someone doesn't text you back, and you don't panic. Someone rejects you, and you don't question your worth. Someone disagrees with you, and you don't immediately change your opinion. Someone becomes distant, and instead of chasing them, you continue living. That's when you'll know something has changed. Not because you became cold, because you became centered. Your emotional center is no longer outside of you. It's inside. Build strength when nobody is watching. The transformation happens in ordinary moments. Early in the morning when your alarm rings. When you're tired but still keep the commitment you made to yourself. At the gym when you've already done enough. At night when nobody would know if you broke your own promise. When you choose the difficult task instead of the easy distraction. Those moments aren't glamorous. Nobody applauds. Nobody posts them online. But those are the moments that build character. Every private decision becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. And eventually, people notice. You won't have to announce that you're confident. People will notice. Your movements become calmer. Your speech becomes clearer. Your reactions become slower. Your boundaries become stronger. Your attention becomes intentional. Your life becomes fuller. And something beautiful happens. You stop trying so hard to be impressive. You simply become present. And presence has weight. This wasn't never only about attraction. That's the biggest lesson. This isn't really about her. It's about you. It's about what happens when you stop abandoning yourself to earn somebody else's approval. It's about becoming emotionally independent. It's about building a life that doesn't collapse when one person walks away. It's about developing enough self-respect that you don't need to manipulate anyone to stay. Because when you become grounded, relationships change naturally. You stop begging. You stop performing. You stop chasing. You start choosing. One final question. So before this video ends, ask yourself something honestly. Where in your life are you giving away too much of yourself because you're afraid of losing someone's approval? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a friendship. Maybe it's your workplace. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's everywhere. Ask yourself, where am I saying yes when I actually mean no? Where am I explaining myself when I don't need to? Where am I sacrificing my peace just to keep someone interested? And most importantly, what would change if I finally trusted myself? Don't answer those questions quickly. Sit with them.